Bonjour everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bibi, and if this is your first time here, welcome. And if you're back for another video, then welcome back. So today we are going to be talking about how to find the perfect traveling agency if you are a travel nurse, or if you are somebody who wants to start travel nursing and you have no idea where to start, you don't even know what to look for when it comes to traveling agencies, and you're kind of at a loss. You feel like the world is your oyster and you don't even know where to start. This is the video for you. I'm going to break it down for you, let you know the different options that you have, such as smaller companies versus bigger companies, where to even look. Should you go on the Google? Should you ask somebody? Should you just, I don't know, throw a coin in the air and see what God tells you to do? I'm just gonna give you guys advice, the best stuff that I know when it comes to picking a travel agency. I have been doing this for 3 years, and along the way I have learned a lot about traveling. So let me stop rambling and start getting to the point. If you guys want to know much more about this topic, then keep on watching. All right guys, so how to choose the right travel agency for you. So the most important thing that I would do if it was my first traveling assignment is make a list of what is important to you. Is your priority making the most money right now? Like, are you more about the money or are you more about the experience? That is really, really important. Now, if you are more about the money, then you need to put a lot more research into things. It's gonna take you a little bit longer because you're gonna have to research hospitals, and I'm gonna make a whole nother video about that. But if you're more about the experience, you're very open-minded, you kind of just wanna get your first travel assignment out the way, then I would start with the Google. The Google is your friend. If you just search travel nursing companies, the first few that pop up, just pick one and call. And the reason that I say to start with the Google is because usually those first couple of travel companies that show up are nationally, they're national agencies. They're nationwide, that's the word I want to use. They're nationwide, meaning they have jobs available in all 50 states. They're not specific, they're basically everywhere. So wherever you tell them that you want to go, if you're pretty open-minded, they can, for the most part, find you a job within that region. When you start being more experienced, or if you know specifically where you want to go, I would probably go with a more regionally focused agency. And that's just my personal preference. When I first started, I did a national one, and then when I kind of honed down on where I wanted my next travel assignment to be, I went with a smaller company. Big companies versus smaller companies. Big companies are going to give you more options, okay? I would go with a big company if you are somebody who wants to stick with the same travel company. You don't want to keep jumping around. You want to always have a job available to you for the most part, because there's never always guarantees. But you want to be with a company where if I wanted to go to Hawaii tomorrow, I know y'all got jobs in Hawaii. If I want to go to New York after that, I know you have jobs there. California, Florida, Wisconsin, Arkansas, wherever. I want to know that y'all have jobs wherever I may want to go. That is the perk of being with a bigger company. Sometimes the downside of that is bigger companies don't always have the highest rates. Right here, personally, I'm just gonna give you an example. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. So there is a company here that is for the Georgia state. Like, most of their contracts, they're based out in Atlanta. Most of their contracts are in Georgia, some of them on the outskirts of Atlanta, but they can pay $200 to $300 more than what the bigger companies pay because they have direct connects with the hospitals here in Atlanta. Now, a downside to that is, because I have done a contract with them, is when I wanted to go to Florida, they didn't have no jobs up in Florida. So I had to find a whole nother company for Florida. So that's just something that you may want to look into when it comes to picking a travel agency. For your first job, definitely I would recommend, unless you know specifically that you're moving somewhere or that is exactly where you want to go, I would pick a nationwide based travel company, because it just makes it easier for you to jump from one assignment to the next. So if you're somebody young, looking for experience, trying to just go wherever, whenever the wind blows and that you're inspired to go with nationwide travel companies. Another way that you can go about it by finding the perfect travel company for you is just to ask. You can ask me, you can slide in my DMs and ask me. I will tell you the ones that I would recommend. I'm not gonna say them in this video because none of them are paying me to say who they are, but if you guys want to privately message me, I will tell you which ones that I would recommend for you based on your situation. You can ask the travel nurses that you meet within the job that you're working at now. They will tell you what they like about it, what they don't like about their company, if they like their recruiter, if they would just recommend, like basically just inquire. Ask other travel nurses what agency they have worked for in the past and what they like. Another thing you can do is join a Facebook group. A lot of recruiters, a lot of travel companies will actually post their job listings on Facebook pages. I would just Google on the Facebook page group search box travel nurse jobs and see what pops up. That is another way that you can find a travel agency for you. Okay, so now you find a travel company, you have a recruiter, everything is good. So what exactly are you going to be looking for when it comes to your contract? One of the things that I have found that is mandatory, when I say mandatory, y'all, I mean mandatory, is to make sure I know what the cancellation policy is within my contract. Sometimes those are job-based, sometimes they are agency-based. So when you work a travel contract, just as most nurses are working, we have to do 3 days a week to be full-time. Now, if you cancel a shift, say you call out sick or something happens, some companies will actually make you pay them for missing a shift. I'm not really sure how they break that down because it hasn't happened to me yet. I don't know if there's like a fee penalty attached to it or you just lose money off of your stipends, but they have a cancellation policy. Another thing is some companies don't have what they call guaranteed hours. So what guaranteed hours are is I am contracted to work 36 hours, and with my 36 hours, I make $2,000 a week. This is just an example. If the hospital calls and say, "Baby, we don't need you tonight, you can stay home," I still get paid $2,000 regardless. If that week they don't need me for 3 out of my 3 shifts, I'm still taking home $2,000. If they cancel me for one of them, I'm still taking home $2,000. To me, that is a non-negotiable thing because when you are a travel nurse, you are somewhere different. You got bills to pay. You're paying for housing, you're paying for transportation. You're basically at the whim of the hospital. Most of the time you don't have another job and you are not taking chances to basically relocate your entire life, go to a hospital, and then when you get there, they're canceling your shifts and you're not making the money that you had budgeted and you're expecting to be making. So always in your contract, look for guaranteed hours. Most agencies, like the travel company that you are with, will have the hospital agree to this because they have to pay you. And if a hospital is asking for travel nurses, that is because they need us. So they usually have in the contract the agreement between the hospital and your agency that you have to work 3 shifts a week. So that's why it kind of works both ways. If you don't show up for your 3 shifts, you will get penalized. And if they don't assign you 3 shifts a week, then they get penalized. So that, guys, seriously, always make sure you have that in your contract when possible. Another important thing that you are going to want to look for when you are picking a traveling agency is the housing options. Some people are very picky when it comes to their housing if the company is providing it for them. If you are somebody who is like, I'm going to find my own Airbnb, I'm going to stay with somebody, pay them rent or whatever, then this is not really that important to you. But for somebody who maybe this is your first travel assignment and you want the company to find you housing, that is actually an important thing that you may want to look into. Ask your travel company what type of housing do they offer. Are they going to have you posted up in a extended stay hotel, or do they actually have apartments within that area, city, whatever that you are going to stay in? And once you find out if it is going to be an apartment or an extended stay, find out what they actually provide. Some travel companies will put you up in an empty apartment. You literally turn the key and all you see is 4 walls. Honey, it is your responsibility to find a bed, to find a mattress, to find pots, to find pans and iron, all that. Some of them, you'll walk in and it is a fully furnished apartment, but it doesn't have pots and pans and plates and whatever. So just make sure you kind of do your research to make sure you know what exactly is included in this fully furnished apartment or housing or wherever the company decides or is able to put you up. That way you can kind of gauge if it's better for you to just find your own housing. Another thing that you're going to want to look into if you are looking for a perfect travel agency is whether or not they have exclusive contracts with the hospital that you would prefer to go to or the hospital that they have you assigned to go. Most hospitals have one company or two companies that they work with directly. Now think about it. There are literally hundreds of travel nurses companies. Now, do you really think this hospital has time to filter through these hundreds of travel companies? No. Usually they go with one or two travel companies, and then that big travel company will send that contract to all the other travel companies. So and then basically you're going through the big one to get to the hospital. So even though you may be working at a hospital and I'm with this company and you're with that company and you're with that company and you're with that company, we're all kind of going through that one big company that some of us may not even know it is the big company. How you may know which is that mystery company that has a direct contract? They are usually the ones that are able to pay their nurses the most money. The most money. And the reason is because, like I said, they have the direct contract. And oftentimes they get a cut from whatever company has to go through them to get to the hospital. So if the big company is able to pay me $1,700, another company may only be able to pay $1,500 a week because they have to give $200 to the big company. Guys, the next question I always get is, well, then how do I find which company has a direct contract to the hospital? You got to do your research. If you want to go down to HR and ask them, what company do you guys normally staff your travel nurses with? They will tell you. Just ask. When you get off of work or before you come into work or on your lunch break, go down to HR and just ask. Nobody on your floor is going to know. It's mostly going to be HR. If you go down there, they can point you in the direction of which company that is. Are you allowed to do that? Yes, you are allowed to do that. You can go and work at a hospital with multiple different companies. So say I just did a 13-week contract with one company and I decide the next 13 weeks I want to renew with another company, you can do that. The only rules that they have is a lot of facilities, you're not allowed to be a direct employee and then turn around and quit working with them as a direct employee and become a traveler. You have to sometimes wait about a year or whatever their policy is. But yes, it is perfectly okay. You're not going to get in trouble. For the most part, I've never heard of anybody getting in trouble for doing this, for traveling to a hospital with just a different company. I've done it, never been penalized. Something else that you are going to want to look for before you choose a travel company is to look at your specialty and see if that company that you are going with actually has jobs within your specialty. For myself personally, I am a step-down travel nurse. I've done almost every type of nursing. I've done long-term care, home health, everything else under the book. So, and that was before I became a travel nurse. Now, if you're somebody who has specialized into something very specific, you're gonna wanna find yourself a travel company who has jobs within that specialty. If you are a NICU nurse, that's all you know is NICU. And we all know NICU, or which is like neonatal or OB. Those are very specialized, they're very specialized nursing. So not a lot of hospitals have those jobs available, and a lot of travel companies do not have a lot of those jobs pop up. So that is something you're going to want to look into. Another specialty that you may want to do a little bit more research as to finding a company that has a lot of jobs within that is long-term care and home health. There are home health traveling jobs. There are long-term care traveling jobs. You just have to find a company that actually have those available, which just takes a little bit more research. How do you find that? The Google is legit your best friend. If you are working at a long-term care facility and your facility has travelers, ask them who they are with. Just ask and use the Google. That is like your number one thing. Another thing you're gonna wanna look for when it comes to traveling companies is what perks they offer. Now, I have worked with a lot of different companies, and every company is going to be able to offer you different perks. Sometimes it's the same amount of money, but they just call it something different. So you have to find out what works best for you. I have worked with about 5 or 6, I believe, different travel companies. I don't know exact number, but I feel like every time I work with a travel company, I find out something new, a perk that I didn't even know was a thing. I worked with a company where instead of paying you time and a half for being a travel nurse, they paid you double. I've never been able to work with a company that pays me double for working overtime. If you are, I know I'm kind of, going off topic, but if you worked as a travel nurse, or if you didn't know, when you work as a travel nurse, your hourly rate is super duper low. For the most part, it's about $20 to $25 an hour. I'm not going to break down how you get paid all that money when you're a travel nurse, but just know that your taxable rate before they give you all the money for the stipends and all that is usually about $20 to $25 an hour, which is pretty low for a nurse. So when you pick up overtime, you're only making $35 an hour. If my math is correct, $30 to $35 an hour. And for most nurses, they're like, no, I'm not picking up overtime for $35 an hour when the regular rate for the nurses at this hospital are $35 an hour. That's a really low OT rate. So some companies will either offer you a bonus on top of that. So you'll get paid your normal taxable $30 an hour. If you're getting paid $20 an hour, your OT would be $30, and then they'll give you like a $100 bonus on top of it every time you decide to pick up an extra shift. And that just offsets the low OT rate that you get when you work as a traveler. Some companies at the end of your contract, they'll give you a large sum of money if you pick up X amount of extra shifts during your contract. I had one, if you pick up 3 to 5, you get $1,000. If you pick up 5 to 10 extra shifts, you get more money. So just kind of see what that is. And like I previously mentioned, some companies will pay you double for picking up OT shifts instead of time and a half. So that's a question you may want to ask. What perks do you have if I pick up an extra shift? Another thing you're going to want to ask for is extension bonuses, completion bonuses. I told you guys about the extra shift bonuses, relocation, traveling expenses. You guys reimburse me for scrubs? Are you going to reimburse me for my parking if I'm working in a big city and I have to pay for my parking, which has happened to me? You just have to ask those things. Unfortunately, what I have found is some recruiters don't give that information or offer that information outright, and then especially, at least in my experience, I found out later where I'm like, oh, I could have got that. Oh, I could have had an extension bonus. I extended like 3 times and I never was offered an extension bonus. Not all recruiters are going to be honest, so you're always going to want to ask these things: extension bonus, completion bonus, travel expense, OT bonuses. Always ask. Let me think. What else could I tell you guys when it comes to picking the best traveling company for you? Like I said, when it comes to picking the best insurance. Insurance is one of those things that's like important. It's not really that important to me because I get my own insurance somewhere else. But you're going to want to, if that's something that is important to you, look into whether your company offers insurance. From my experience, most travel companies will offer you insurance, but it's just a little bit more expensive. So if that is something that is important to you, as far as like 401ks and all that other jazz that you get when you are somebody that works full-time, definitely ask your travel company about that. That's another question I get, like, what do you do for insurance? Just FYI, every time you renew your traveling contract every 13 weeks, it's like you're legit signing on to a whole nother job. Like, you can change up everything. If one contract you wanted them to pay for your housing, and then while you were there for 13 weeks, you were able to find your own, like an Airbnb, or you met somebody there who has like an extra room in the hospital and you want to move in there, when you renew for the next 13 weeks, you can change everything in your contract and tell them, I want to find my own housing. So that's just something also to keep in mind, that you are not locked into a setting like once you sign a contract. Okay. So yeah, if you want to work, okay, so the next thing is, if you want to work, So if you are somebody who already is working within a specialty, it is very important that you are able to pick a company that has jobs within that specialty. That is another advice that I can give to you. So that is pretty much it. That is my best advice when it comes to finding a travel company for you. No travel company is perfect, but I think the most important thing is, I know. The most important thing is you're going to always want to see if the travel company meets your needs. If you are one of those people who just wants to go travel and pick the ones that pay the most, the highest within that area, then you need to find a travel company that fits those needs. If you are more interested in availability and not having to switch companies every time you want to work somewhere different, then that may lead you to want to be with a bigger company. So yes, that is my best advice to you. I am sorry for that background noise. That is my fridge. It is a phantom fridge and makes weird noises. But yes, guys, that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for coming to my channel today. Thank you so much for following my page. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any other questions, please comment down below. If there is anything else I can help you with, you can follow me on the Instagram. And that is pretty much it. I hope to see you guys in my next video. Love you, love you, love you, love you lots.